where our country is today. Johann Wolfgang Goethe, famous German philosopher, said, "None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free." Does that not define the people with the mainstream media and everything else today? And that's why it's so hard for us to get this across, because they are fixed. USA, USA, USA. I mean, they don't know who they are. Thank you.
Mr. Clark.
Give him a mic, please.
You have to have a microphone.
Okay.
Yeah, turn it on, Mike.
Turn back on the shuffle.
Right. So I got a question. As far as the United States splitting off parts of Texas, it was what, maybe a year or two after that the Texas signed the annexation treaty that they invaded Mexico and got back, the western part of the states. So like how do you separate that when going to the UN, as far as negotiating what we have as opposed to, what America won in war?
There's a lot of things I don't understand. I don't know how that would be done. I can tell you this, though, that once a nation is held like in military occupation or in oppression, and they win their freedom, it doesn't go back just a little while, a little ways. It goes all the way back to the beginning. The example of that is Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. Y'all heard me say that many times in the past. But when Russia held those countries, those Baltic states, and they got their independence somewhere in the 60s or 70s, when they were restored all the way back to 1937 when Russia took them, or 27, whatever year it was. And they had to go back to their boundaries and go back that far to restore the countries and the people. So it's not for me to say how far back that'll go, but it certainly won't go back to yesterday.
But does
Mr. Brown?
When they did Texas in 1850 and they split it off, the United States Constitution states that they cannot create more than 2 other states out of one state. But when they did Texas, they did 5. And so that's a violation of the Constitution right off the bat. And that was the original Constitution at that time. It changed when what Billy said a while ago about the 1871 Act. We'll talk a little bit on that as well.
Mr. Avery. Mr. Avery first, and then, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. Anita.
There's one other concept that applies here when you're talking about, the shape of the state, and then the United States how it relates to that. Well, John Locke said his treatise, second treatise of government, that governments dissolve themselves from within. And this is what has happened really to the United States. It doesn't matter whether it's a corporation, because the corporation was not delegated by the people. So the corporation is unlawful. And even the Constitution we were under, in fact, has been dissolved. So, and all of the forefathers knew this because they studied John Locke. And that was written 100 years before the U.S. Constitution. And his last chapter was on dissolution and how governments dissolve themselves from within. And many times the people that are running them don't know
sovereign. But the U.S. government is dissolved. So whatever government you put together, any government at this point has as much right to do what they want as the United States of America. And they would have to, the United States of America, even our old Constitution, they would have to prove that they are in conformity to its provisions. They can't do that. Whether they use the old Constitution or the new Constitution, there is no Constitution that they are in conformity to. They changed it by law without amendment, which is dissolution.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. Give a, if you would, give the mic to,
Okay, I'm sorry.
I just had a real quick question. You said that whenever the U.S. incorporated and they changed the Constitution, I know you said that it's all in capital letters, but what are the differences? What did they change?
their English grammar is very specific. There are only two places in the English grammar where capitalization is proper. One is on the tombstone, so you're dead. The other is when you're incorporated. That's the only two. So everything else beyond, and that's not me that did that. I didn't write the rules of that. That's English grammar. Our forefathers and the people that wrote those documents understood very well what they were doing, and they understood very well the difference between for and of. And so most of us don't understand. This is one of my arguments. I always ask everybody, do you really know who you are? And they say, well, certainly I know who I am. I said, well, look at your driver's license and tell me why they put your name in all capital letters. And I said, I'll bet it is. And they look and everybody says, well, it is. And I said, why is that? Well, that must be the only case they have. And I said, turn your driver's license over and look at the back. It's written in upper and lowercase, everything there. Why is the face of that document in all uppercase letters? Because you became a corporation when they did that. You accepted that. Your silence is acquiescence to them creating a corporation. It's not the only place they did it. They did it on the birth certificate too. I know this is over the heads of a lot of people, but somebody here understands what I'm talking about. But those things have happened, and it's not by mistake. It's all done under the pretense that it's correct, and we just took it that they'd never do that to us. Our government wouldn't do that, but they did do that. Not only did they, not only would they have, and they continue to do it. And in everything that we do, we have found out that because of the way our government is structured, none of your courts are correct courts. All of our courts nowadays are administrative courts. I don't care what they say. If you get to a common law court, there's a difference. And you will notice it right away. That's why I've always said that our courts in our country, by our people, if they were established, that would set our country and our government on a whole new realm. Let me ask you a question. How does our government treat foreign nationals from another country?
Better than they do us.
Better than they do us. And why is that? They have no jurisdiction. They can't do that. They have treaties with these other countries, and in their agreements, they agree that they won't treat those people like that. We have illegals that are here from other countries that commit murder and all kind of violent crimes, rape and robbery and everything else. And after they catch them and they know what they're guilty of, they say, well, I'm sorry, we don't have any jurisdiction. We have to turn him loose. You could be the same way. Republic of Texas could be the same way. And guess what? Our courts, for the Republic of Texas people, would overrule their courts. Their courts don't have any jurisdiction in Texas. Our courts don't have any jurisdiction in Maryland. If you read some of the documents where it talks about the laws of the government, or the laws of Washington applying to the lands, it says it. when it comes to Texas, it says it comes up to and over the land of Texas. Now, what does that mean to you? Their laws apply to us? Most of us think that. But when you read it and take the words at value, when it comes up to the border, it comes up to the border. This law applies up to this border. And it goes over the land. It doesn't apply anymore on the land. It's over the land. It may come down on the other side over there, come down to California and apply to them, or New Mexico or Arizona, but it doesn't apply to Texas. So there's a lot of things that are said in treaties and agreements and our way our government is structured that we think one way and it's actually applied another way. And it's not done so that you can understand it. It's done intentionally to mislead and misdirect you. And I've taken way too long. I didn't intend to do that.
I got one thing to add.
Okay, Mr. Brother.
Anyway, how they got
You're
to
gonna have a microphone.
Take the microphone so everybody on
lips.
how they got to that
you
point.
have to turn it on.
In 1871, how they got to that point is some mysteriously way they did away with the 13th Amendment along that and opened the floodgates of hell. You know, they made lawyers got in when they were supposed to be in the whole office, and they replaced it with slavery issue in the 13th Amendment. But anyway, y'all probably know that. I was just adding to it.
Well, that's true. And one of the problems that we don't understand is we never really won our independence from Europe, from England. They really, that's another, incidentally, Brexit is another example of how the people want to get out from things and they're not being able to get out. The people of England voted to get out of the European Union. Are they out yet? Not yet. Well, we're working on it. We're going to get there. But you see how that works? Once they have that control, they don't want to give it control up. But we said, yeah, am I way too long? One of the problems with that is that we thought we got away and we had independence and we're living on the land that was, we have a government of the people and by the people and for the people. But as it turns out, by deceit, we have these bankers and these families that came in and set this up. It's who still controls us? Whoever's running that corporation. Who set that corporation up? It came from somebody else. You don't set up corporations just out of the blue. They came from somewhere. So somebody is over the control of that corporation. It's not on its own. I'll just leave that to your imagination. Just came out.
So that would necessarily mean or indicate that what you're talking about, when there is a border and the government here does not have jurisdiction over these illegal, undocumented usurpers, invaders, that in the borderless world that the deep state, the cabal, whatever you want to call them, they want to do away with all the borders, therefore everybody would be under the jurisdiction no matter where they went, period.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Thank you.
That's what we call a one world government. And y'all might have read about that in a book somewhere. Somewhere along the line, you might have heard it in Sunday school or something. But that's what that whole thing is leaning toward. That's why we want to have, that's why this government that controls us doesn't want a border between Mexico. They don't want a border between their country and Canada. They want all of that open. And the minute they do that, then we have a world government that has jurisdiction over everybody because there are no borders. It's correct. But one of the things that makes a country, I told you a while ago, what was that? You have to have a land. And when you have land, you have borders. That's what defines your nation. And we have that. And not only that, we have treaties everywhere. I'm way over long, and thank you very much. And next time y'all ask for an update on international, well, you can call me or call Mr. Bullock and get the website and get the telephone number to call in. And on Zoom, I'll give it to you again. Go to Zoom, 315-337-4464. It's 7 o'clock on Monday evening, and you can get in on a lot of this stuff. It's catching up. Mr. Bailey, one more question.
Yeah, just add this.
Susan Brown.
Yeah, it was at least 5 years ago that I got involved. I didn't have time to get involved. I didn't know how bad off we were. And it was, a year or two ago, I attended our corporate federal representatives town hall, where he told a lot of jokes and then didn't really give much time to answer us. I submitted 2 questions. He answered, and we had to write it out before he would, and he only answered one, and then he said, I'll get to the second one later. And then they started to close the meeting down. And I said, wait, you promised you'd answer my second question. Of course, that's the TPP question at that time. And I noted when I was there that they had some flags they put up, to represent the representative. And this is what you need to pay attention to. Their flags look like the United States flag, but it has a gold fringe around it. That gold fringe has a meaning just like the grammar you're talking about. We have no idea. We just think, well, that's just a pretty flag. There is meaning to that. So whenever you go anywhere, and all of your courts have the gold fringe flag in them, we have no idea where we stand. Now, I don't have time to be up here. I'm busy. I've got business, and everything, but I'm here. And what I want to say to whoever's listening to this, you don't have time either, but you better make time, because this country is falling apart. And unless we build numbers of people that really are patriots and want to make this country, the Republic of Texas, real, it ain't going to happen. We need people. Thank you.
I need to correct Mr. Barnett, who was listening to me, and he said the number on Zoom was incorrect. The number is 337-315-4464. 337-315-4464. 7 o'clock on Monday evening, and it goes till 9. Since I host that, it doesn't go much past 9, because I go way past my bedtime by then. And so you have to get it in. We have some really good information. We've read some really good stuff, and we're staying on top of that stuff. We learn more all the time. If you're interested in doing some research and getting involved in that committee, join in and help. Mr. Bullock will sign you in. He hosts the meeting, and it's because of him that we're able to do that. I still can't hardly use my computer. And incidentally, I would apologize for the phone ringing a while ago. That's a new thing, and I don't know how to operate it. I turned it down, but I must have turned down the hearing volume. I don't know what I did. But anyway, my apologies. Thank you, Mr. Bullock. Richard.
For those of you that are here that have never been here, my name is Richard Wagner. I'm from up by San Angelo. This gentleman talked about the 13th Amendment, the original 13th Amendment of the United States of America. And I'm going to read you what it said. It says, if any citizen of the United States shall accept, claim, receive, or retain any title of nobility or honor, or shall, without the consent of Congress, accept and retain any present. I lost my place on the page. I'm reading a small one. Accept any present, pension, office, or emolument of any kind whatever
from any emperor, king, prince, or foreign power, such person shall cease to be a citizen of the United States of America, and shall be incapable of holding any office of trust or profit under them or either of them. Now then, there's something that goes along with that what people don't realize when they read it. When somebody goes to college and graduates and goes into law school and gets their degree, they go to the bar and take an exam, BAR, British Accreditation Registry. They swear allegiance to the crown and accept the title of nobility esquire. And that's the reason our country's in trouble. It's the lawyers. It's not the Democrats or the Republicans. It's the lawyers who are representatives of Great Britain. And that's why we're having all the trouble.
Thank you, Mr. Ford, for your presentation.
You might as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. As Billy introduced me, my name is Joseph Gordon. I'm 30 years old. I come from a family of small business owners, and part of being a successful business owner is, when you find a field, you do your best to observe everything involved, and you make a projection, and then you decide whether or not to take a risk. Well, from what I see, I believe personally that history is on our side. And whenever I come to these meetings, the word history itself gets brought up quite a lot. But then again, it is still on our side. And it's just like I said earlier, it wasn't but a year or two after Texas signed the annexation agreement that the U.S. used Texas as a staging point to invade Mexico. It was less than 2 years afterwards. And, in order for me personally, I'm putting everything that I have into it, and I will continue to do so. But in my opinion, and I'll say my opinion and I'll leave it at that, in order for anyone in the international body to recognize us or our motivations, certainly it gets brought up a lot. We have to have the people behind us. But in order for us to get the people behind us, we have to get the teenagers. The teenagers are always the most important because they are the future. And in today's world, this thing right here, the teenagers are the now. I grew up in a very strange age. I remember the days before the internet, but I'm still young enough to be a part of the internet, at a very involved level. So, I'm looking around and I'm talking to, I have a younger brother. I talk to kids his age. And, they're getting a hold of, information, false information, a lot of false information, and they know it, but they're also getting a lot of truth out of it. When you come across enough lies, you can start to piece together enough of the truth to get the picture. And today, in this world, in this age, the teenagers, the young and rebellious, they're being forced to mature a lot quicker, partly because of the age of divorce, my parents' generation are the generation of divorce. Split families, really, and it's gotten worse. And so kids nowadays are having, in a lot of different ways, they're having to raise themselves. And I think if we can just help them understand that is a problem, that is an issue. I mean, Texas, the state of Texas, is over $300 billion in debt. And that's along with the $22 trillion in debt that the American government has on top of everything. top of all this. If we can help them to understand that it is a problem, that college is not supposed to be free, and you're not supposed to get paid to sit in a classroom, if we can help them to understand that, then we can start affecting some change, I believe. And so, you know, again, I'm committed to this, and I will stay committed to this, regardless. But if we want to do anything, if we're going to achieve anything, we have to find a way to reach those that are just getting out of high school just before they get into college, and that's my opinion.
Thank you.
Number one, I want to ask you to please consider, I'll be talking about it here pretty soon, joining our PR and technology committee, okay? That's where we're addressing this very stuff that you're talking about, okay? I'd like to invite you to join us in those meetings. We meet twice a month on Zoom, so you don't have to go.
I think honestly, you know, I've had ideas that I've carried around with me. You know, one thing that I think also, you know, aside from this, one thing that I believe aside from this, for the international body to even listen to our argument, you know, we're going to have to be able to defend ourselves in some way, you know, so I think on top of just having people's attention is not enough. I think we really need a militia of some kind, but that obviously you can't get anywhere going down that path if you don't have the people involved in the first place. But, you know, ideas as far as getting people involved, you know, I have an idea for a clothing line, and, you know, everybody, I mean, you know, for the last 10 years, it's all the new T-shirt idea. You know, I went through that stage. I remember being around it. You know, the funny jokes, the memes, and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, seriously, I started a website, and it's called TexiumRevival.com. I have plans to start a clothing line, and I want to highlight the fact that Texas is over $300 billion in debt, you know, on every one of these T-shirts, and then have different designs for the front of the T-shirt. I have a name, you know, I have designs in my, I don't have them on paper yet, but I have them in my mind, and I think it's very, it has a lot of potential for success. You know, if we can get it started, I think, you know, more than half of the population here in Texas is in these towns that have less than 20,000 people in it. It's more than half of the population. You know, supposedly there's 26 million people in Texas, and I sincerely believe that more than half of the population here is in these small towns and less than 20,000 people. All right. So, if you've ever seen a billboard truck, and you think about it, a billboard truck, you drive one of these billboard trucks through these small towns, all of these small towns, and spend a day in each one of them, we could have the attention of half the population. And it would take less than a month.
This is the reason.
This is the reason I'm asking you to join our committee where you can do something about that, okay? So please consider that. Okay, I wanted to, I bit my lip all the way through Mr. Ford's presentation because, as you all know that are involved in our Zoom meetings and other meetings, I don't usually hesitate to insert my comments, okay? But I didn't. I was being respectful to the audience and allowing everybody the opportunity to speak before me, okay? And so I did that, and I have to pat myself on the back because that's very unusual for me. and it reminded me, you see, I didn't show you the video, not the video, but what do they call that on Windows or Word, not Word, but where you post your comments in a book, in essence. I can't think of it. It's a graphics program. Huh? PowerPoint, thank you. I didn't show that PowerPoint thing, and it was all about how do you run an efficient meeting, okay? How do you run it? And one of the things that's important in there that we violated here is there's a couple of things that are important. Number one, before anybody can speak on a subject, first of all, the Congress has to address it first. If the Congress isn't addressing it and you want to speak on it, then you have to ask for permission to speak, okay? That's one thing. Secondly, you only get to speak one time, and that limitation should be 5 minutes. And if you want to speak a second time on that same subject, you have to wait for everybody else to have their chance to speak before you can speak the second time. That's the way it's supposed to be, okay? So I'm gonna try to enforce that from here on in, okay? Now, there's a couple of comments that I couldn't let pass, and I'm not sure whether you really talked much about the International Committee report, Mr. Ford. Did you?
No, I did not.
Okay, I want to bring that up because it's very important. We spent more than 5 years on putting together this first International Committee report. And what it is a timeline, it is a countdown from, I'll say, 1776 to the present of all the things that happened within this Texas government and this United States government that changed us from a constitutional representative republic form of government to what it is today. As Mr. Ford says, it's an oligarchy that's in control. It's a corporation, and they have no legitimate control over us. It's only because we let them control us, because they've kept us dumbed down that we don't know the difference. And any of the history that's being taught in our public school system is the history written by the victors. It's not by the people, it's by the victors. And we know who the victors are, and they aren't necessarily us. It's who? It's the bankers. It's the people that are truly controlling things. And so they are controlling what we understand as history. And what are they doing to us right now? They're trying to destroy the Confederacy, right? They're trying to destroy that. They're trying to take that out of the minds of these kids today. So, this international committee, I have learned more from that international committee than I ever learned in any class that I ever took in high school or college. I've learned more about the true history of this country. And it is not what you think it is. It is not what you think it is. It was never independent of Britain. That's why the troops stayed in this country after the Revolutionary War. That's why they were able to go down to Washington in 1812 and burn the Capitol. And what was the purpose of burning the Capitol? Was to destroy all of those original documents that created our so-called independence. That original Constitution was burned at that time. Okay, and it was substituted with the one that we show as the original Constitution. All of this we learned in the Republic of Texas International Committee. These are 2-hour calls every Monday from 7 to 9 p.m. And you do that over Zoom. And if you want to be included in that, if you want to come and just listen to it for the first time and see whether you want to continue to come to it, on that sign-in sheet, please put down International Committee, and I will send you the invitation to join us on that. Do you all know why? I didn't hear anything said about it, but I've often heard, why doesn't the Republic of Texas take the U.S. government to court? Does anybody have that question in their mind? Why we haven't done that yet? Why we're not doing it?
their court.
What court?
What court? A U.S. court.
That's corporation.
It's what?
That's another corporation.
Well, yes, it's another corporation, but the fact is, the Republic of Texas is a nation. The United States is not really a nation. It's a country of 50 nations, okay? But that's who represents those 50 nations right now. But the fact is that if you've got a problem between two nations, there's only one place to solve it. Well, there's two ways to solve it. One is by war, and two is by going to the international courts. That's the only place that can resolve that legitimately, okay? And so we have to go to the international courts if we want to seek our right to self-determination. That's what we're talking about, the right to self-determination of our government. We are an occupied nation right now. We are occupied. We've been occupied ever since that war that they call the Civil War. We've been occupied ever since that. And the other thing that struck a note with me when Mr. Ford was talking, he was talking about all these contracts that we all have signed that makes us U.S. citizens. The driver's license, the birth certificate, all these documents that we sign, okay, that particularly those that come with your name spelled in all caps. They say that is an admission that you are a U.S. citizen. I'm sorry, but it's not. We allow it to be because we don't know the difference, okay? Everything that's done with this United States government is a contract. It has to be a contract. A contract is between two parties. And the only ones that can contract with the United States, which is a corporation, for it to be legitimate, it has to be another corporation. And your name in all caps is a corporation, okay? It is a person, and a person is a corporation. That's another identification of a corporation is person. And that's why corporations have that right to do things in this United States, because they are a person also, okay? That corporation is a person also. So these things all happen to us. But the thing that's most important to understand is these are what they call adhesive contracts. An adhesive contract is one that's unstated, yet it's presumed by one of the two parties to that, okay? So when you sign, they presume you are a U.S. citizen. And when they make that presumption, and you allow them to get away with it, then you are one. You are one. You have to counter that and say, no, I am not a U.S. citizen, okay? And that's when you should become a Texian American national, okay? You should become a Texian American national. I've gotten off on a tangent because these things are getting very disturbing to me because they are putting me through hell right now, okay? They are putting me through hell, and my frustration's starting to show. Okay. Yes, sir, David.
I think everybody's, there's a lot of interest in what Billy has to say, and Billy can talk. I think that Billy would make a fine keynote speaker at one of our future meetings and give him the whole afternoon. And that would be something to advertise.
We'll take that under advisement, sir. Okay. Well, the next report is the Technology Committee, and it's combined with the Public Relations Committee. This assembly decided on that about 3 or 4 months ago, that since they're both working toward the same thing, and that is, we know we have to go after the youth in this country. We have to go and appeal to the youth of this country. We cannot possibly win when we have nothing but gray-haired old men here, okay? We have to pass this information on to people that are going to continue this along. And if we don't get if we don't actively do things to get them in here, we're in deep trouble, okay? And that window is closing on us rapidly. What does the public school do? The first thing the kid knows is I got to determine what sex I am. The kid's got to determine what the hell sex he is. I had a friend tell me that that's what his grandson told him. He says, well, I've got to learn, I got to figure out what I am. What the hell is going on? So,
They call it sexual orientation.
yes.
We're trying to reorient.
They don't want their parents to orient them. They want to reorient them. So we have to appeal to the young people. You talked about how do you do that? Primarily, it's going to be through that smartphone, okay? More and more kids, I see more and more kids out with their parents, out to dinner, out to lunch. The parents and the kids are all sitting there. They're all on their own cell phones. Nobody's talking to anybody else there. They're all poking their finger at the screen, you know. And that's family time. So we're in that situation. We know that we've got to do that. Our technology committee has come under the advisement of some of the members of that technology committee that we have to change our web page because it doesn't fit properly on a smartphone. So we've got to reorient it, and they're working on that right now.
I'm all going to get to you, okay?
We've got to do that because they say if they come to the Republic of Texas, which is the texasrepublic.com, okay? That is the website. If they come to that and they can't read all of it, they can't see any important information on what they're looking at, they don't ever come back. So we lose an opportunity. So we recognize that we've got to make these changes, and we're hard working on it. Did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I was
Quickly?
gonna say, as far as
You need to have a microphone because the people online want to hear.
as far as reaching the youth, primarily, when we say the youth, I think about kids that are in college, right? And, for the last, when a teenager goes into college, that's usually when they get their first introduction to politics, correct? Right. That's when they start, or they get their introduction to politics from the parents, and then when they get to college, that's when they start making an opinion. All right.
That's when they start learning about socialism.
Right. Well, when I take that into consideration, and also take into consideration all the things that are going on with the government, with the American government at this time, I'm looking around, and if you watch the media, I think we've heard the word Russia collusion probably about 50,000 times, right? And so these kids, they're hearing that just as much as we are, right? And to me, it's a little funny that the Democrats keep saying this over and over again when everybody knows that the core of the Democratic Party is in California, right? And, well, who gets the first dibs on all the Chinese goods? It's California. And at this time, if interest rates go up 4 or 5%, the dollar is going to collapse, right? And these kids have been getting this Russian collusion hit into the brain over and over again. The college campuses are geared towards liberalism. And I'm putting 2 to 2 together. It's starting to paint kind of a picture for me.
Because when the dollar collapses, what's the world going to go to? It's going to go to the Chinese dollar. It's going to go straight to the Chinese dollar because all of the production, just about all of the production of all goods, of all manner of goods, comes from where? It comes straight from China. So when the dollar collapses, everybody's going to go to the Chinese dollar, right? All the countries are going to go there. And say Trump doesn't win this next election, the dollar collapses, Chinese goods. To me, it's like they're selling. I think the Democratic Party is selling part of the U.S. to China in a way. I mean, it's just a theory, but if you think about it enough, it makes perfect sense. Right? And this is something that can be used as leverage in my mind. I think this can be used as leverage. But first off, this is just where the college campuses, and just before they go to college, I think, to me, this is the perfect time to make a move and actually do something. That's all I would say. Thank you.
So this technology committee, this public relations committee, is kind of dedicating its efforts to doing things that is going to the young people. The same thing is we should also be. Are any of you familiar with Mike Adams, Health Ranger, out of Austin? That's one man you ought to be watching his videos, and you ought to be listening to him, because he's pointing out all the things that they're doing to us. Mike Adams, the health ranger. Well, we're going to try to get him to be a speaker in the third quarter of this year. And that more than likely is going to be held somewhere up in the Austin area where Mike lives, so that it'll be convenient for him to get there. Won't take up too much of his day because he's a very busy man. But the thing that we're also supposed to be doing is promoting these efforts to get more people to attend, because I think it's pretty important that people start hearing the messages that are coming from this Republic of Texas, because I think we have a pretty good idea of what's going on and what needs to be done. The other thing that was mentioned here was about the General Assembly. The only way we can defeat these people is start having common law courts, because then we can challenge their administrative courts in their jurisdiction. Without that, we can't, and we need to be able to do that. I'm in the process, I'm supposed to be going to traffic court down in West Columbia. But I was stopped because I had a headlight that was burned out. And it was burned out and replaced just the day before. And it was on my way back from our meeting up in, where did we have the meeting up there in Fort Worth area? Steve? Huh? Steve? No, before that, it was Bedford. It was on our way back from Bedford that I got stopped in West Columbia because my right headlight was out. And I had just replaced it less than 24 hours before that. And so I told her, well, I'm traveling. I don't have a license when she asked me for my license. And I told her, well, I don't have one.
Put my microphone on. Thank you. I don't have one. And to make a long story short, they got me into court, and I'm working on ways to get myself out of that as not being a U.S. citizen and not being required to have a driver license, because I am traveling and I'm not driving, okay? Well, the court is about as corrupt as they can be, and they use every devious method to get you so that they can presume that you are within their jurisdiction. And so I'm trying to learn how I keep that from coming to reality that they're going to be able to claim that they have jurisdiction over me. And that's why I'm saying to you, we've got to learn and we've got to start participating in common law courts. We've got to become jurists on those things so we can learn about it. And they are putting out messages to us all the time about they're looking for jurors. And I know everybody is busy. Everybody is busy. I'm more busy now that I'm retired than I ever was when I was working. Okay? I am more busy. I don't have time to enjoy myself in any which way, shape, or form. And it's starting to get to me. And that's part of the frustration that I'm exhibiting. So, we're looking for people to also join that committee to help us do things that's going to get us out in front of the public. Okay? Out in front of the public. Okay. Any questions on that? All right. I'm going to turn this back over to the President of the Senate and Chairman. You just want me to let me... Okay. Mr. Branham, you're next up. He passed that back to me. I was trying to get you back up there.
They got me down here to report on jurisdiction. We've had jurisdiction calls every second and fourth Tuesdays ever since last August, and we've had probably thousands of people that this is paid off for. We still have a lot of people that we're still working on them, but they're having trouble getting money back, like they're stealing their Social Security, or it's some company that's stealing their payroll, all for the IRS. Okay. We had one lady call last week from Arizona. They had been stealing her Social Security for 6 years. She got a full check and was one happy lady last week. And this happens all over, everywhere. Our next call is next Tuesday night. Anybody is interested in listening to it, and we're hoping that lady will come on and tell us her story, exactly what she did. And that's about all I got on jurisdiction, unless anybody got a question on jurisdiction. If you don't get the emails from me about our calls or anything, I have probably a dozen attachments on there that runs you through and tells you a lot of stuff that they're doing. The IRS, you're nothing but a volunteer when you pay them. But yet they turn around and they take people to prison and everything for being a volunteer. Does that make sense? Nothing they do makes sense. I tell you. For example, line 22 on the 1040 form is the total monies that you owe the government, but it does not define line 22. You can't find it anywhere. You will be next year because we've showed this to so many people. The IRS picked up on it and they put some wording in there for 2019. So anyway, you go look, but the money obligated to government is defined, but not under Title 26, which is IRS. It's defined under the Treasury, Title 31. Okay? And it will tell you there's an obligation of debt, you're exempt. So they keep you over here in Title 26 when the answer is in Title 31, stuff like that. people that go to a district court, or they're summoned to a district court for back taxes and stuff. The district courts, federal district courts do not have authority or jurisdiction. They do not have jurisdiction over the IRS. So when IRS files a case, brings you into a district court, it's not the IRS or prosecutors that show up. It's the BATF prosecutors. They've got you labeled, when you get to that point, they have you labeled as a drug dealer or an arms dealer or terrorist or whatever. They've got something that's they created you in one of these other. And they have jurisdiction over those items, you know, taxes, like liquor dealer, you know, you got taxes, okay? But 99.9% of the people do not know the BATF is one, they're in Title 27 now, not Title 26. They don't know that. Of course, they use famous IRS attorneys and everything. They always want you to get you an attorney, right? Or they'll voluntarily give you one. You ever wonder, all these attorneys that's appointed by courts, who pays them? Where did that money come from? You didn't hire them. So, anyway, I talked to one attorney in Houston one time. He was a court-appointed attorney. He gets paid $500 to win a case. He gets paid $2,400 to lose the case. Okay? The reason why is all cases have bonded, even traffic tickets in most cases. You get the county court or above. They have a bond against them. You know, well, if that attorney goes in there and wins the case, that shut that bond off right there. None of the judges or the other prosecutors can collect them. Also, those bonds aren't any good unless the judge, you have a judge, a prosecutor, and a defensive attorney, like a triangle. That has to be connected before that bond will pay off. People that they send to prison for life and stuff like that, or death penalties, those bonds are like $5-6 million. You ever notice they don't turn loose prisoners? They don't put death prisoners on death row for 16 or 17 years. Every time it'll be 16 or 17 years. Those bonds are good to that time. They're going to get every penny they can out of them bonds before they kill that fellow or madam or whatever. So anyway, that's all I'm going to have on jurisdiction right now, but I'm still on the list for next, and that's General Assembly that we're trying to build Texas General Assemblies. And what I want to do this morning, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of how they took over your lives and made you United States citizens, corporate slaves. 1867. The U.S. government got a hold of Webster's, the Webster's Dictionary, you've heard that? They forced him to change the definition of federal. Federal never included the people up until that time. He changed that, he had to change the definition that included the people. 1869, 2 years later. here comes the 14th Amendment, supposedly to make slaves equal. Well, they made slaves equal, all right, but they made everybody, they turned around and freed them, and then turned around and made them corporate slaves. So, they just, it's, everything they do is in design. They got a reason for doing everything, okay? They turned around after the 14th Amendment, they created the 1871 Act, which Bill Ford talked about a while ago. Okay. I'm going to read y'all something. He mentioned that we've been on 2 special calls the last couple of weeks with the National Assembly out of Michigan, who have sent this document to Trump as of yesterday. And I'm going to read it to you, and it could affect our lives tremendously. We the people in lawful assembly, Article 1 Bill of Rights, declare these truths evidence by reported facts, events, digital storage of knowledge passed from American to American, Donald J. Trump. We the people recognize your oath of office as tendered on January 20th, 2017. We the people recognize your offer to return power to the people as stated in your inauguration address. We the people recognize you as the people's representative and the nation's services contract administrator. We the people recognize the fact you are aware the American people have suffered destructive abuses at the hands of the legal and law enforcement industry. You'll have to excuse me if I get the weed in my leg gives out. Mind if I put my glasses on this page?
You can sit when you have to also.
Okay. Standing in the general grace of our Heavenly Father, we the people void the Act of 1871 establishing the District of Columbia as the body corporation for the municipal purposes, and since the Act of 1871, which established the District of Columbia, we have been living under the United States Corporation, which is owned by certain international bankers and aristocracy of Europe and Britain. The District of Columbia has no power to establish any bank of circulation, nor to authorize any company or individual to issue notes for circulation as money or currency. To provide government services to the people of Governmental Services Corporation Incorporated contracted with the military under the Labor Code to provide these services. Title 18, 2385 states, Title 18 is criminal. Whoever knowingly, willingly advocates, abets, advises, or teaches the duty, necessity, desirability, or propriety of overthrowing or destroying the government of the United States or the government of any state, territory, district, or possession of, or the government of any political subdivision therein, by force or violence, or by the assassination of any officer of any such government, the people have observed and determined that this article reveals the political crimes committed against the people. Your Government Services Corporation has breached Section 17 of this contract. Your governmental services corporation has become destructive to the people. Your corporation is no longer operating under the 19 governmental services that were contracted for. Therefore, under declaration, we the people declare the contract void. The people are reseating the lawful de jure seats via the original organic constitution, Cert 1791, for the United States of America, county and state assemblies with published unrebutted notices. Wow. Thank you. Yes, sir. John Trump, as Commander-in-Chief of the U.S., we, the National Assembly, via the States Assemblies, direct you to remove for cause all governors in all 50 states who refuse to restore and assemble according to Article 4, Section 4, Republican form of de jure government. Governors in all 50 states that refuse to dismantle the state corporation and county corporate offices to end the destructive behavior against the people to be removed for cause. This clears the way for the assemblies to resume the reassembly of the original jurisdiction, de jure Republican form of self-government, effective now. Donald John Trump, as Commander and Chief of the U.S., we the people are aware of the work done to date that demonstrates your effort to return the Republican form of constitutional government, Circular 1791, and the power authority back to the people. We the people are very grateful, and those who know what has been done so far properly will continue to support completion of the 21 requisitions issued by the Michigan General Assembly December 2011 by their elected interim representatives will further demonstrate the continuance of your efforts to drain the swamp. These orders were placed with the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Judge Advocate General, Secretary of State, to the Office of POTUS. Donald J. John Trump, we the people grant you the authority to use whatsoever means necessary, including extreme prejudice, to carry out the political will of the we the people before October 1st, 2019. Donald John Trump, we the people require a special statement on the Twitter referring to the assemblies, including the public feedback on action being taken, reflecting the political will of the we the people in evidence within 30 days. Donald John Trump, we the people require a specific statement on Twitter referring to you being directed by the will of the people, showing you have orders in hand to return the power back to the people within 30 days. Now, the following these orders, you are fulfilling the prophecy of being the last president of the United States and at the same time making America great again. The United States is all capital letters there. The last president of that corporation. These orders are ordained, ordered, sentenced, and decreed as the political will of we the people. And the National Assembly is taking full responsibility for this. What they're asking us to do is this is a sign-in sheet, and I'll be sending this out to everybody. This is a signature sheet, and then like signatures in blue ink that you support this. Not that you are doing it, because they're the ones doing it. You're just supporting it. This says, "We the people from the nation state of Texas concur with this document noticed by the Michigan General Assembly to Donald John Trump on the 11th day of May 2019. And they want them signatures. You can sign anywhere you want to on the paper. Don't go online on your name or nothing like that. You can sign upside down if you want to. And they're going to have these going everywhere. And then they'll put them together and mail them to Trump. Just to show the people supporting this action. I know we're talking here in the Republic of Texas, and this is the United States. But I can tell you right now, if they can stop the cooperation of the state of Texas, it's going to make our job a lot easier. I can tell you that. So I really fully support them on this part.
And
Yes, sir. Who
Put the
is that?
microphone up to your mouth.
You want to talk?
No, put the microphone
Oh,
next to your
sure.
mouth.
Who was online that asked to speak?
They couldn't hear.
Does anybody want to talk, ask a question?
Oh, Milton, do you want to speak?
sounds bad, it's breaking up.
Oh, he couldn't hear him.
You gotta hold it closer to your mouth, they can't hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Whoever wants to, I'd like for you to sign this, and I'll be mailing it to them. And I have these additional forms. Any of you'd like to take one and get people around you to support this. But I need to get this to you before you start that, so you know what you're talking about. Okay? That's all I got.
Let me get clarification, Ed. You have to do this, physically. You can't do it online and type in your name, right?
Correct. They want it in blue ink if possible.
They want it in blue ink. Well, those instructions aren't on that page, because I looked at that last night and I was trying to figure out, how do I sign into this thing?
I think you three attachments. One of them was this page that I showed you there, but another one had the instructions on what they were.
Okay.
It's in your email.
All right, good.
Okay.
You can even sign it large like John Hancock if you want to. Doesn't matter where you sign it as long as you sign it somewhere. Thank you for those two presentations on jurisdiction and General Assembly, President Branham. The next item up on the agenda is the review of the congressional session calendar. Go ahead.
Ron, is this gonna go out to work?
Oh, this,
Raymond?
the link should be on your website. It's livestream.com/Ron Avery.
Okay.
And then you go to Desi. It'll also bring up Desi Andrews. So you click
Can you
on
give
that.
him a mic?
Okay.
He has a mic.
He does have. Oh, okay.
They wanted you to talk with the mic.
Billy, do you have something to
They wanted
say?
you to talk with the mic.
Oh,
He's
I think it's already
resting his
done.
hand. All right, the next item up on the agenda is the review of the congressional session calendar by Speaker Bullock.
I got to turn around and look at this in order to be able to comment on it, because I can't bring it up on my computer right now. But basically, our next session is going to be in Johnson City at the public library. And as of now, we don't have any particular speaker to be there. But that will be on the second Saturday, which would be June the 8th there. And Frankie Nieto is the one that set this up for us, representative. The next one is supposed to be me, but I want to trade that with someone further down because I want to try to get, as I said, Mike Adams, the health ranger, to be our speaker. So I'd like to change that with either John Bernard or Tom Bailey. And Tom, if I could change that with you, then we could probably have our session up in Waco, where we talked about. Okay, so we want to look into that. Okay, so can you agree to change the date with me to put you up there for July?
Yeah, that's just around the corner. Oh, that's July?
July.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's when yeah, you're changing that already. Okay, good. So yeah, we'll have Tom then, and more than likely we're going to be up in Waco for July, which is a somewhat neutral ground for all of us that have to travel to these sessions. We've had many meetings up in Waco. I should say many sessions up in Waco, including at the Internal Revenue Service building, where I'm sure they didn't listen in on us. We actually had an office there. So then we've got Henry Turner we're going to have to replace on there. Does anybody like to take Henry Turner's place? No volunteers? Well, I'm going to have to pull something out of the hat.
When is that?
Huh?
What date?
November 9th.
It's November the 9th.
I might do it.
Ed, do you want to say something?
I'm trying to see if we can get Gonzalez.
Gonzales? That's a good location for us. Yeah, I think we should. We could even get Ron Avery to come to that. Okay, so put down Gonzales tentatively there for November, and put Ed Branham's name in there. All right, I don't want to spend any more time on this. We need to get working on those. And I'll have to check with John Bernard to see if he's got anything going in the Houston area for us. Okay. I'm going to turn this back over to the chairman. We decided to try to mount this up here, Ron, because we keep messing up, and this way we got the thing sitting right here, and we can turn it off and on easily enough.
Very good.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is new business, and we have 3 bills that are up for their second reading. And the first one I would like to read is, and we actually read these, right? You'll read it? Okay.
David's a sponsor of it.
Oh, okay. The first one is the bill to grant copyright.
No.
Is that the one?
No.
Oh, you want to do the other?
No, it's got to be
Database.
the database, yeah.
Yes.
Get a little closer to it.
All right, is that better?
Except that sounded good.
It does good on that. Okay. The first bill up is the, to establish a Texian database, national database. And I think David has the reading on that.
Okay. House Resolution number 01-02-2019-01 and Senate Resolution number 01-02-2019-01. Resolution to establish a Texian national database and the rules for disseminating contact information. Be it resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the Texas Republic in Congress assembled. A joint resolution proposed by the House of Representatives of the 23rd Congress of the Texas Republic. After the People's Congressional House of Representatives and Senate for the Texas Republic in a meeting of Congress assembled, the following resolution was approved and adopted. Senate Resolution number 01-02-2019-01 and like resolution originating from the House of Representatives number 47-02-06-2019 to be titled Resolution to Establish a Texian Nationals Database and the Rules for Disseminating Contact Information for use by government officials in ways which will not compromise Texian nationals' privacy or security. Therefore, the Senate and House of Representatives of the Texas Republic in Congress assembled hereby resolve. 1. To require the development of a database containing all documented Texians, including the following information. A. First name. B. Last name. C. Domicile address. UPS, mail delivery. D. De facto state of Texas county. E. Texas Republic County. F. Texas Republic Senate District. G. Email address as preferred by the registering party. H. Phone number date. I. Phone number night. Number 2. With database functions. A. A filter by Senate District number. B. A filter by Texas Republic County. Number 3. Access limitations for database filtered information. A. Filtered data only available by written request using a form that requires sworn secrecy must be maintained to not share the information with anyone. B. Filtered data will only be provided to the requester for the jurisdiction of office sought, i.e. Senate District or Texas Republic County. C. All requests for contact information by those seeking elected office shall first be reviewed and approved by Congress. D. The sole purpose of making this filtered data available is for conducting the business of informing Texian people of government actions, campaigning for elected office, solicitation of opinions relative to government actions, facilitating necessary communication between elected officials and their electorate. E. The filtered data shall not be used to conduct private business. F, all candidates for office will be granted free access to campaign on the RT website, spaced to be determined by the technological/PR committee. Whereas the Secretary of State is the official delegated the responsibility to oversee elections and maintain the records of documented Texans, so shall have he the authority to develop and maintain this Texian database and the forms for candidates to request electorate contact information for the jurisdiction of elected office sought. Whereas the Republic requires this database to pursue a goal to restore the sovereignty of the Republic, this database shall be completed and up to date within 90 days following the date of final approval of this resolution. The database shall thereafter be maintained current on a monthly basis.
Thank you, David. Is there anyone that wants to make a motion to either commit or engross this bill? John Jarnicki?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Any second?
Representative Nieto, I'll second that motion.
Okay, do we have any response by aye for that? Well, do you want to have, are there any comments or discussion?
Milam would speak.
Go ahead, Milam.
Is the floor open for discussion on the bill, or is it for approval so we can have discussion?
At the moment, it's open for discussion on the bill.
All right. As per discussion from Billy Ford earlier today, I would like to move that the phrases that begin with therefore and whereas be transposed with each other so that wherefore comes before whereas comes before therefore for grammar.
That would be the correct structure.
Representative Nieto?
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we transpose those three phrases.
Representative Nieto, Travis County? I would second that motion. This way we are grammatically correct in our structure.
Thank you, Frankie. Is there any discussion on that issue?
Yeah. I want to clarify something. Yeah. Bruce Bullock, yes, I'd like to clarify something. Okay, are you talking about the therefore that's on the first page and moving that down to under 3F and taking what's under 3F, the two whereas statements, and moving them up in its place? Is that what you're requesting, Mr. Milam?
Yes.
Okay, so it's to take this one and move it down, and take this 2 and move it up in place of 1, and move this down in place of 2. Right? Okay.
I can't see what you're doing, Mr. Speaker, but it should say whereas in the phrase, and then whereas, and
That's what I've noted on my copy.
Okay. I yield.
So I'm not clear on that. Are you referring to just changing the word there?
No.
I'm talking to him. Are you referring to just changing the word therefore in place of whereas and vice versa? Or are you talking about the entire sentence and paragraph?
Yes. Moving the whole paragraph.
Okay. Thank you.
I agree, that's right.
Okay, and we have a second on that. And there's no further discussion? Is that in my document? Is this it? Oh, yeah, that's it. It's not it. This is it right here.
So those are motions on the amendment.
Mhm. Okay, so we now have an amendment, so is there any further discussion on whether to commit or engross this bill?
Let me clarify for you. You've got to ask for them to vote on making this amendment.
Okay, can I hear votes of aye for those that agree with the amendment?
That sounded
That
unanimous.
sounds pretty unanimous. And then we need to sign those.
Okay. So now you can ask for approval to, votes for approval.
Milo will speak.
Go ahead, Milo.
Okay, you're calling the shots up there at the chair, but may I suggest that when you call for the vote, you call for abstentions, nays, and then finally call for the yays. And that way, if nobody abstains or votes nay, and everybody voices out yay for the approval, then you pretty much know it's unanimous. I yield.
Thank you. So, do we have any,
I make a motion, we approve the second reading. David Sparks.
As amended.
Fayette County.
that's as amended? As amended?
As amended.
Okay,
I thought we already approved the amendment.
we did.
I just think you have to say that.
So that's the motion.
Do we have any second for that?
Tom Bailey.
Second by Tom Bailey. Can I hear by abstention, does anybody abstain from vote? Do I hear any nays? Any ayes?
Aye.
Okay, that passes and is up for the third reading next month at the meeting in Johnson City.
Milo would speak.
Go ahead, Milo.
I move that we forego the rule for the reading and call for the third reading today and get this over with.
We can't do that. We can't do that. We have to read this at separate meetings because other people that aren't here don't have the opportunity to vote.
I yield.
Okay, the next bill up is to grant copyright. You want me to read this? Okay. I'll read this bill. House Bill number 48-04-10-2019 in Senate Bill number, there is no number for that yet. A bill to grant a copyright. Be it resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the Texas Republic in Congress assembled a joint bill proposed by the House of Representatives and the Senate of the in the Senate of the 23rd Congress of the Texas Republic. After the People's Congressional House of Representatives and Senate for the Texas Republic in a meeting of Congress assembled, the following bill was approved and adopted. Senate bill and the like bill originating from the House of Representatives, number 48-04-10-2019. By authority of the 1836 Constitution for the Republic of Texas, Article 2, Section 3, to establish post offices and post roads, to grant charters of incorporation, patents, and copyrights, and secure to the authors and inventors of the exclusive use thereof for a limited time. A bill to grant a copyright, be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the Republic of Texas in Congress assembled, to grant a copyright which shall expire 20 years after the date of passage of this act for the document entitled the 2018 International Committee Report, which was drafted October 13th, 2018 by the Texas Republic's International Committee, a joint committee of the Senate and House of Representatives of the Republic of Texas and other members, which chronicles the relationship of the Republic of Texas to the International Committee. Do I have a motion from anyone to commit or engross the third reading, or commit the second reading? This is the second. Yeah.
Motion to commit.
Commit to go to the third reading.
To go to the third meeting, okay.
To engross, actually.
Right. Do I hear a second for that? John Jarnicki? Do we have any discussion? No discussion.
What's the first reading?
Second
This
reading.
is the second reading. President Branham?
Suggestion?
Yes.
Colin would speak.
Somebody's asking
Nyland.
you to
Who
speak.
was it?
You're speaking. He stepped on you.
I think you should put an example of a copyright mark on here, on that,
On the document?
on the document.
Okay.
That's a recommendation from the president. However, he is not part of this congressional session. Well, somebody can make that recommendation from the House of the
Somebody
Senate.
can make that recommendation. John?
The president can voice his opinion, but it's not authorized by the Constitution. I will take that over and propose that for myself.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Tom.
Discussion.
Is there any discussion on that point?
Mylon would speak.
Go ahead, Milo.
I'm not understanding what the motion was for. If I'm correct in what I believe, you want to put the symbol of the copyright, which is a C and a circle, on the bill somewhere as a representation of the copyright.
No, that is not our copyright symbol. It's to put an example of our copyright symbol on the document, on the bill.
And what does that look like?
If you look at your International Committee report, it's in the lower right-hand corner. Okay? It's a lowercase r, uppercase T.
Yeah, I see it.
followed by the circle over the C for a typical copyright.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, you have someone voicing on the Zoom requesting the floor.
There's number one, there's a question online from Trey. He's asking, what is this copyright for? It is for our international committee report. That's what this act is for. It's simply to put that copyright on there, making an official copyright of the Republic of Texas. It's good for 20 years.
But once approved, this copyright symbol can be used for other documentation,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
I will answer that. I believe that's what my bill, the intent of the bill that y'all wrote was specifically to put it on, to grant a copyright for the International Committee report. Now, we need to have a congressional approval to have a copyright office. That's under the Constitution, which is mentioned at the beginning of the bill, the authority to grant that to grant the copyright. The Constitution gives us that right. So this bill is for only the International Committee report document.
That's actually written right on the bill.
Yes.
That's in the first paragraph.
Yes, thank you. I yield.
All right, do I have any abstentions from a vote on that? You have a comment? Go ahead.
I'm wondering if we're gonna make our own copyright, in order for it to be in effect as far as the government of the corporate United States is concerned, do we need to also apply a copyright through that?
I don't believe we do, no.
I'm just wondering if it would be protected from the government of the United States with just an RT copyright on it. Would they ignore that, or do we even care?
Do we care?
My understanding, yeah, we don't actually care.
Wondering.
But my understanding is that a copyright notwithstanding, when you write a document by international law, there is actually a copyright on that document based on the fact that you produced that document to begin with. It doesn't actually need something on it as a symbol to be copyrighted.
I knew that for pictures and some of that kind of stuff, but I didn't know about the documents.
It applies to all documents, to my understanding. Okay, do I have any votes to disapprove? Any nays?
Nay.
Nay. We have one. Any votes for approval?
Yay.
2, 3, 4, 5.
We have public discussion.
We did have public discussion, but do you have something to say?
Yes, my concern is that the way the bill is written, and maybe I need to look back at it, is that it's written that the copyright was created for this specific document and not for the Congress to use on any documents that sees fit. So are you creating a copyright for the sole purpose of this document, and then you're going to have to create another one for another document instead of having one copyright representative of the copyright of the Republic of Texas for all documents? Or do you have it just for a single document? I yield.
Milo would answer that question.
Go ahead, Milo.
The authority to grant a copyright is given to us in the Constitution. So we don't have to have an act of Congress to be able to do a copyright for whatever purpose. So the bill is specifically for a copyright, to grant a copyright to the document titled International Committee Report. Alamo yields the floor.
Okay, so the copyright that you put on that document, the RT, the copyright symbol, represents that symbol can still be used on any other document, and it's not just a copyright symbol for this individual document.
It's true.
Alamo would answer that question again.
Okay.
I think Mr. Wagner may have a point here, in that the understood copyright symbol, which is the letter C within a circle, and then the difference in the RT in a circle being a copyright. Perhaps maybe we do need an act of Congress to call that circled RT a copyright symbol and give it the authority that it requires on an international level, on an international standard. Whereas unless we're saying that the RT is specifically for the Republic of Texas and doesn't count for international documents or patents or things of that nature.
If I may make a recommendation here, I would recommend that we pass this bill on the basis that it's for the International Committee report, and that the Congress take under advisement whether we need to look at this to whether we have to write another piece of legislation, or we can act on this. I think we have to take a look at that and resolve it. I don't think we want to take the time to try to do this today.
We've already passed it, have we not?
Yes.
I would yield to that with one comment. I would think that along with Milo's statement, that the Congress take into advisement to establish the RT symbol as the official copyright symbol for the Republic of Texas. I yield.
Okay. So, have we finished the vote?
Have we finished the vote? Yeah, we have.
Yes.
We have finished the vote.
We just
It has been voted on.
One abstention.
Okay, one abstention.
One nay.
One nay. One nay. Okay. The third bill is the President's proposal for the primary goals and mission of the Republic of Texas. And I will read that. The number of this bill is H.R. 49-04-2019, in the primary goals and missions of the Republic of Texas. 1. Promote recognition of the lawful status of Texas as an independent nation. 2. Educate the people of Texas about their loss of freedoms due to the actions of the corporate, federal, and state governments. 3. Restore to the people the ability to live their lives free of government intervention. 4. Bring the people of Texas together into a constitutional convention to form a proper lawful government for the purpose of protecting individual rights, property rights, and the defense of the country. 5. Return to the common law, freedom, and self-responsibility. 6. Reduce crime through the swift justice of common law courts. 7. Return control of education to the local level. 8. Return control of government to the local people. 9. Restore the freedom of religious expression at school, at work, and in public. 10. 11. Return Texas to a lawful money system, gold, silver, or other specie, and eliminate the current debt money. And the last one, promote for all Texian American nationals equal access to the world for business purposes through lawful treaties with other countries. Do I have a motion to engross this bill?
I'll make a motion.
David, thank you.
Second.
John, seconds. Thank you. Any discussion? Bruce?
Yes, I would reiterate comments that I've made in the House sessions that we've had on this, that this is a document right now that was written by the President, and I appreciate the President putting this out, and he has asked the Congress to adopt it, but he also said, add whatever you think is necessary, okay? And I have made the recommendation that we all take a look at this and take a look at the proclamation that we have on our webpage under the "We Are Who We Are" menu item, okay? To take a look at that proclamation and see if there's anything that tells you there's something else has to be added to this list. I'm not sure anybody has done that to date, but this is supposed to be a goals and mission statement for the Republic of Texas, okay? And that means we should have some say-so in what it is. And so I'm asking you all to please look at this thing and see if there's anything else that has to be added. You're having the opportunity to do that. So take that into account however you vote here.
Is this the second reading?
This is this.
First.
Is this the first reading? I thought this was the second reading. No, this is the second reading, I believe.
What's it say on it?
It doesn't.
It doesn't say.
It doesn't say.
Well,
I thought it was.
Let me make another comment about it, okay? This was rushed, this is put in as a resolution, but it doesn't have all the wording that goes with the resolutions, the whys and wherefores. Why are we doing this? And therefore, what are we going to do? Doesn't have any of that in there. So it's really an incomplete resolution to begin with, all right? And that's our fault. That's not Ed's fault. Believe me, it's not Ed's fault. We're supposed to take care of getting a resolution put in the proper order, and we haven't done that.
So that was part of the discussion.
Representative Nieto, I would like to quick, clarification. On one of the mission statements, it is remove the burden of taxation from the people. As a government, I am granted the authority to tax the people. So maybe there might need to be some clarification on what they mean, but what we mean by that. But and then I would have a question: why would a mission statement and our goals as a group, organization, a body, whatever you want to call us, require law by Congress to have
A resolution number.
It's a resolution.
Okay, a resolution. Why would it be required by a government? Because merely all I'm understanding is that this is something to present to the people, that when they looked at it, they could see what we're about and who we're about.
I would have to agree with that.
I think, Frankie, if you look at anything your state Congress does, anything your federal Congress does, they do everything as a resolution, okay? And one of the reasons they do it as a resolution is because they aren't held to anything, okay? And I think we want to do this as a resolution. We want to make a comment to the people that this is what we are trying to provide you with. This is what we are trying to provide you with. This is our goal and our mission, and we want you to understand that so we can get your support. So, I think the right thing to do is to make it a resolution, and that it should be by the whole Congress and the executive. They made the recommendation, and we're going to add our comments to it. That's what I believe should be done. Mr. Ballard.
I make a recommendation that we rewrite this and make a resolution before it goes voted on.
There's a motion to rewrite this as a resolution and come back with this for the, is this the first or second reading? Did anybody figure that out? I think we may have read it, but at the last session, but we didn't do any, we took no action on it because we didn't have a quorum there. I think that's what happened. We read it up in Mesquite, but because we didn't have a quorum, we took no action on it. Yeah. Yeah, Mike?
I second the motion.
You second the motion. Okay, thank you.
We already had a motion on the table. Do I need
What
to
was it?
withdraw that? To approve the first reading. I made the motion, John
Well,
seconded it.
I guess but we were in discussion, and now he's making a motion to you can say amend that so that we go back and put it in the proper order.
That's basically what he's asking.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second to take this back to the table, and properly address it as a resolution, and then present it as the second reading. We've had the first reading today. We're saying engross it in it. I'm sorry, take it back to committee and put it in a proper order. So the first reading is taken care of today.
We've not approved the first reading.
Well, you don't have to approve the first reading. You don't have to. You got to put it out there, okay?
You gotta have a final document in order to vote on it. You can't vote on it and then change it without
No,
amending.
that's the purpose of 3 readings.
Yeah.
You read it once and then you vote on it to.
So we're correcting things in it to make it for the second reading. Okay?
You have to make a motion and you have to have that seconded in order to have discussion on it. And then when something comes up in discussion that should be changed, then it goes back and gets changed and comes up for the next reading. And the same process happens 3 times.
Okay, so we've had a motion and a second. Any other discussion on sending this back to committee for the second reading, to prepare for the second reading? Seeing none? All those in favor of doing that signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, unanimously passed. Thank you. We got through those. I'm sorry, folks that are here, but that's some of the things that happens in Congress, is there's got to be a lot of discussion on stuff. You know what happens when the Congress doesn't discuss things? They pass bills that they've never read. We've got evidence of that in the United States, don't we? Okay, so I insist that we read the bills. I insist that we have discussion on them, because that's our job as representatives of the people. That's our job. We do represent the people. That's what we're supposed to do. Okay.
Item calls for the floor.
Go ahead, Milo.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, we took care of a lot of business this morning, and this has happened. This isn't the first time it's happened, and congressional business gets squeezed at lunch. And it being lunch now, we're being squeezed, and there was a lot of discussion and other things that took place before we took care of our business. I'm requesting that we take care of congressional business at the call of the meeting, and then have that discussion stuff come after we take care of our business, so that the discussion gets squeezed at lunchtime and not our business. I yield.
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking us to do.
I think we're done with business.
Yeah, we are.
Well, to be clarifying it, it's now lunchtime, and we're taking care of business, and it seems like we can't take care of business because we have to hurry up because it's lunchtime. And this is not the first time that this has happened. And we've had to not just fully discuss and take care of our bills and discuss them because we're out of time. So, this is only a comment that I'm making.
Okay, and
Later, if we need to.
my comment back to you, Milam County, is that there was no push by anybody here to move this along in order for us to get to lunch and have our business completed, okay? There was no push to that. There was nobody trying to make these things go faster than they should. We had due deliberation on everything we did. We've taken care of it as our responsibility. It is now lunchtime, and I'm about to try to get there.
I make the motion.
One comment on that, please.
Go ahead, Trey.
I think in terms of what Mom is saying, is we had some history coverage on the Republic of Texas, how we got into our situation. And I think that it was stated in one of the last meetings that we would start off with the business of the Congress and cover those things later as we got to the discussion after lunch or after the business was completed. So we kind of flip-flopped again and started with the history that went into some public comments as well, and we didn't discuss the business first. So we could have still gotten everything in, and I think we are doing well. But again, we didn't start with the business, and I think that was his first point.
If y'all are talking about discussion taking place early in the morning rather than taking action on bills and resolutions, that's been the way we've been operating ever since I've been here, is to bring people up to date on things that are happening and then address the new business. That's the way it's always been done here, and I don't see a reason to change that. Go ahead, Trey.
If you're unable to complete the business within the time frame that you have because of that bringing up to speed at first, then that would be a very good reason not to use it, because your sessions are only once a month, and you should be getting your business complete prior to bringing those that are lagging behind because of their lack of involvement up to speed. That they can be brought up to speed through emails, documentation, and finally through a voice up to date period
we are working on ways to improve our efficiency, and you well know this, Trey and Milam, that we are working on ways to improve our efficiency. And if you're on those calls, you know what we're doing to try to do that. Now, we've got members of Congress that aren't up to speed on technology, okay? And we recognize that. And it's going to be difficult for them to adhere to this, trying to do things over the internet at your own pace, where you can get on there and take care of business, get your comments in, and not have to be in a meeting to do that, okay?
Yes, sir.
But it's, so we're working on ways to improve our efficiency. We're doing that. But we have to deal with the reality that we've got some people that are going to have a difficult time dealing with that.
And I'm not saying that would be a difference, that I totally agree with that, and we've had that discussion, but my point in what Mr. Godwin's point is that if you flip those two, you get the business done and you can bring people up to speed, and if bringing people up to speed runs into the period after lunch, it's not the way, the portion that you designated for business being the first thing, which I think is the priority of your congressional monthly meeting, is to complete the business that needs to be completed, and then bring up people up to speed. And if something that you're going to discuss in completing that business has to do with an update, then that update should be part of the discussion on a bill or whatever it is with the business that you're trying to pass. We're not saying don't do the update. We're just saying split the two so you make sure you get the business that must be completed done here, because not everybody is up to speed on the options online to help get those discussions in the business completed. The aspect of the history and where we are on those updates falls secondary to you completing the business, and that's my opinion. And
What I'm going to recommend is that the House, in their House Zoom session, have this discussion about changing the format of our meetings, okay? I will have that discussion in the House, and I'm going to recommend that the Senate have the same discussion. And then we can resolve it at the next congressional session.
Well, that makes my comment, Representative Campbell, that makes my comment kind of irrelevant.
Okay.
But I would support that we table this for a House discussion and a Senate discussion.
Okay.
So I make a motion that we table this discussion for another, for separate sessions within each chamber.
I would accept that, but Mr. Ballard's been waiting there to talk also, so I want to let him talk before we do that.
I didn't mean to change the subject matter, waiting on these guys to finish their conversation so we can go eat lunch, because they're taking up.
So you want to make a motion?
But the point I want to make before we just continue business is, has anyone written anything or done anything about this Marcus Jamel Harris about getting a car?
I am the one assigned that responsibility to get with him, okay? I have not had time to move that up my priority list to take care of it, okay? I've had great intentions, but things are overwhelming, and I've not been able to take care of it.
Carry on.
Okay. Okay, before we go to lunch, I want to... There's a notice out of our upcoming September national election. And we've got forms here for anybody that's interested in, one, becoming a Texian, two, becoming a candidate for any office. That we've got the forms here that you can fill out and hand them to Mr. Ford before you leave. So they're available to you. And it's important that we get more and more people involved in the Republic of Texas so that we can start showing the people out there that there is a movement, that people of Texas do want to become free of this occupying government that we have. Go ahead, Ed.
Had the election for the new vice president closed?
That's the end of this month. Yes, and don't forget to vote for the president, or vice president, excuse me.
Well, you vote for president, you don't do.
Okay, so with that, I've already told you the next congressional session is in Johnson City, the home of another illustrious U.S. president. And that will be May the 11th. That's supposed to be June. I didn't change that. Excuse me, that's one error. Okay, before requesting a motion to recess and taking lunch, we invite all here in attendance and those joining us virtually by computing device or phone to resume our discussion immediately after lunch as open public comment addressing subjects that are of great interest to all of us. This discussion will be facilitated by Texians for Texians and others having interest in freedom and liberty. The congressional joint session will end with a vote to recess. And I've got down as the first speaker is Dr. Desi Andrews. Okay? Is there a motion to recess? By Mr. Wagner and second by Senator Ballard. Senator Wagner and Senator Ballard. All those in favor of recessing for lunch, and it is what time?
12:28.
12:28. Let me ask a question. Can we complete lunch in a half hour, or do you want longer? You want to make it 45 minutes?
Yeah, 45 minutes.
45 minutes. I'm assuming everybody's going to probably eat here, so we ought to be able to take care of it in 45 minutes. So we will resume at 1:15. At 1:15 we will resume. Hopefully Desi will make it here by that time. She's here? Oh, okay, she's here. All right, good. Okay. Did I ask for the vote? Did I get the vote? All those in favor? Okay. We've taken care of it.